certain people in the music business who have people waiting on them all the time, and they can't make music anymore. They're out of touch with reality.
Well, the thing is about me is that people accuse me of that. Like in the English press, they say, "Oh, Boy George is stuck in his ivory tower." And if there was ever anybody who was more down to earth and more to reason in this business, is me. And I don't care what these people write about me. I think the thing that bugs a lot of what I think is that I object to people in the music press saying to me that I'm a capitalist and I'm this and I'm that, when they travel around the world 99% of the time on record company money. They're given records every week free. They eat out on pop stars' money. They do interviews, they get fed, a lot of them, and a lot of the top interviewers, they get travelled around in first class and everything, and they write oh, Boy George is a capitalist, when in actual fact of course I am, but so are they. I just don't like hypocrisy. I think this business has a lot of it.
Sure it does. It's like a lot of bands, once they're commercial, it's like, well, forget it, we don't like them anymore. So what's wrong with, if you're good and you become a success, that's not a paradox.
Somebody said to me that Deep Purple stretched music to its limits, and I burst into laughter. This European journalist said, "I don't think Culture Club stretched music to its limits." Well, there is this myth. It's a very old-fashioned myth. It's very old-fashioned to say that pop music is naff. You know what I mean? And that anything that's off the wall is interesting. I think the difference between people like Philip Glass and Culture Club are quite phenomenal. But I think that Culture Club do stretch music to its limits. I think the fact that we put out every record is different is enough. I just think you've got to please the people that like you. You can't please some people. It's a waste of time.
I think a lot of the critics and stuff take themselves too seriously, and they think their role is a lot more important than...
Let's face it, who would want to be a critic living in Worcester, a music critic, writing for a local newspaper? What sort of opportunities does that give you? You know what I mean? I read the review of last night's show this morning, and it was just totally bitchy, saying I look ridiculous, and just like the whole piece was obsessed with the way I look, saying that I was less than averagely talented and things like that. And to me, from somebody who's sort of stuck in Worcester, writing for a sort of small town newspaper, it's a bit of a cheek, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a jab, or it's like a...
It's almost like you have to feel sorry for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like...
But critics in general, it's like, who are they to say Culture Club does this and does that? And who are they to... What's their point of reference? That's what I never could understand about a critic. How can they sit down and say, well, Boy George's new album is, Culture Club's new album is this, and the other thing?
Yeah, I think that the trouble is that, it's like if you're a poet, you write a poem, okay? You give that to somebody buys that in a book, and they make that poem personal to them. They take it home, they read it, it relates to something they feel. You have no right to say, well, look, this is what the poem's about. You mustn't sort of change the meaning. So when I write songs, my attitude is that some people are going to feed off those songs, and other people are going to just be totally dumbfounded by them. And there are a lot of people who work in the industry, a lot of critics are foul musicians. They're like people who were in bands in the 60s that never made it, or they're just total flops, and they just have to sort of, I suppose they resent it because I've found the easiest route to success and they haven't, But it doesn't bother me, I don't really care. Right. It's tough on them, really.
No, not to just, but that's just always a thing. It's like, how can somebody criticize this? Exactly, who are they to say what the Culture Club's new album is, and give it 2 stars or 3 stars? It doesn't mean anything.
But the thing is, we live in a democratic society, thank God. You know what I mean? And we live in a society where people have the right to an opinion. And to be quite honest with you, I'd rather that. I'd rather people had the right to have an opinion, because otherwise the whole thing becomes one-sided. I think it's good for the band as well, because it makes you fight it. It's like, you get criticism, you react, and it's very good for you. It's very good for your psyche,
Yeah.
This morning I bought 2 blow-up dolls, and I'm going to send them to those reviewers. Which is, which apart from anything, makes me laugh.
That's great. That's true. That keeps you on the edge.